Hello everybody. Hi Josh, and welcome back to Bath Uni Christian Union Events Week, which is themed this year on hope. My name is Esther, as you can see, and I study management and marketing at the University of Bath. I am one of your hosts, as I am a member of the CU, and I'm joined by Josh. Hello. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey Esther, great to see you again. My name's Josh. I'm a second year at Uni of Bath, studying sport management and coaching, and it's so great to be back.
Evening three.
Evening three. It's so good to be here again.
I'm fine,
How are you
thanks,
doing,
Josh.
Esther?
I
How's your day
went
been?
on a bit of a muddy walk to Little Salisbury Hill, a lot muddier than I expected.
That's quite
A
a
little bit
way
of a
out, isn't
walk,
it?
yeah.
That's a bit of a
What did you
trek.
do? Anything
That's good though.
nice?
I went for little bit of a run. Um,
Wow.
down through the two tunnels. Absolutely fuming. Didn't go all the way through the two tunnels. My Strava
I've heard a few
completely
people
messed
having
up.
problems with
So
Strava in those tunnels.
it's not. I know.
Yeah.
Didn't count towards my November
Mm.
miles. I am
Don't worry,
absolutely
we
fuming. But
deep
it's
down
all
we all
good.
know
It's
that you
all
did
good. We move.
it. We'll take your word.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a run
Very
if it's not on
true.
Strava, and
Very
I'm
true.
annoyed. But it's
I
fine.
do trust
And
you.
trust me, I promise.
I do have a few questions for you actually. So yesterday you weren't
No.
very keen on my house having bought a Christmas tree. And we have now decorated it.
Hmm.
We
Rightly
have now
so.
decorated it, maybe in a slightly tacky way. Hopefully none of my housemates are watching. But we have stuck photos of our faces in the centre,
Oh wow.
and then we have drawn around it like whatever Christmas element we'd want to be. So mine is my baby photo, and then Jesus in the manger. You know, one of my housemates is a mince pie, someone's a turkey, someone's an elf, someone's Angel Gabriel. My question for you is, if you had the pleasure of being on our tree, what would you draw yourself as? What Christmas element would you be?
What Christmas element? That's a very, very good question. I think that's quite a cool idea for your tree. I'm going to stall whilst I think of an idea. But I think that's quite cool. I can get
Thank
behind that.
you.
It's still too early, but um, but
We'll
I
throw
can
that one out
still
the window for now.
I can get behind that. Oh, Christmas element. I would be. I know what I would be. I don't
Go
know why I had
on.
to think about this. Pig in blanket, easily. I'd be a little pig in
Wow.
blanket. Pigs in blankets.
I do love
Hands
them.
down, the best secular thing about Christmas. 100%.
The best secular thing, yeah.
Best secular thing
Um,
because obviously Jesus, but
yeah,
but pigs in blankets, you can't go wrong.
love that. And we'll have to ask Rachel what she is
Yeah,
when she comes on in.
definitely.
I'm glad you're getting in the mood a little bit, even if it is forced. Yeah, love that. Okay, just before we get a lovely guest to join us, I'm just going to remind everyone or anyone who hasn't been before who the CU are. So we are the Christian Union at the University of Bath, and our mission statement is that we exist to give every person at the University of Bath the chance to hear the good news about Jesus Christ. And hopefully you will all witness that tonight. Josh, do you want to introduce our first guest?
Yes, of course I can. I would love to welcome Rachel into the stream.
Hello.
There she is.
Hi guys, you alright?
Hey, yeah, how you doing? How's your day been, Rachel?
Yeah, my day's been good, thank you. It's been a bit screen orientated, but I'm doing okay.
Good,
Love
good.
How's
that.
your
Right.
day been?
Would you like to introduce yourself properly? Go for name, course, year, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm Rachel. I do sport and exercise science, and I'm in my second year of uni.
Nice.
Love it.
And just as a bit of a warm up, I'm sure when you were backstage, then you heard us discussing the Christmas decoration. If you could be a Christmas element on a decoration, what would you be?
So I probably would be a reindeer because I've got like really fair skin. Whenever it's cold outside, my nose does go bright red.
Oh,
So yeah, I'd be a reindeer probably.
Love that. Love that. Great answer. Do you want to tell us a
great.
little bit about your story with faith, how you became a Christian, how you found your faith? Fill us in.
Yeah, sure. So I am very grateful that I was brought up in a Christian household. So my dad's actually a vicar, so going to church was something that we always did. But I'm not going to lie, I was a bit of a difficult child, and whenever we used to go to Sunday school, me and my brother kind of like took it upon ourselves to, see how much we could annoy our youth leaders, which is not advised. But so I went to church. Church was something we did every Sunday, but didn't really like accept it. Kind of knew who Jesus was, kind of knew, believed in God, but kind of wasn't really sure how that affected me, and like what being a Christian and accepting Jesus, like, and what he's done for you really means. And I'd say probably around age 15, 16, kind of when I started like, well, when you grow up and like you start going to like house parties and stuff and get involved with like friendship groups and like relationships and stuff. I was going to church, but I wasn't really like, didn't really know what it kind of like meant for me to be a Christian. And yeah, so started like going to like parties and stuff, and kind of just feeling like, to be honest, just ready for the next party. Like that was kind of what I was like ready for. I was like, right, got my outfit sorted, like, and actually kind of like clocked on that like this is what I'm looking forward to, like this is what I'm doing. Got to year 11, and kind of like struggling with mental health quite a bit, kind of had like quite bad anxiety, and like eating issues that kind of like affected, I lost a lot of weight and things, so was like referred to like mental health charities and stuff, but like really long waiting lists and things, and at this point my faith, I was still going to church, but kind of still wasn't really like accepting what it meant for me, and then in about November of year 11, really sadly a girl in my year actually committed suicide, and that massively rocked my year group, hugely rocked it, and there was a lot of kind of questions going about. Obviously we were 15, 16, 17 in year 11, so really young, and at the time I was in a relationship who, they weren't a Christian, and although they were a lovely person, definitely pulled me further away from church and believing in God, and that relationship then ended, and I was still like looking for the next like party and getting excited about that, and kind of just hit a wall with like myself and my identity and like my mental health, and I just got to a place where I was like, whoa, like where am I? Like, what am I doing? Who am I? Like really kind of low, like really in a bit of a pit. And kind of was like what is my hope? Like, what is, like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? Like everything that I'd put my identity in was kind of like stripped from me. And I was like, okay, I know that like I've heard stories from going to church about like Jesus and like what Jesus can do for you, like what he has done for you. And I was like, okay, let's look into this, because maybe there is more to it. Like maybe actually finding out who Jesus is like has some worth to it. And so I just called out to God, and I called out to Jesus, and I was like, I need you to pull me from this pit that I'm in, and really found a peace that like nothing could give me, like no strategy, like no coping mechanisms from any counseling could give me, like nothing that like friends or family could say to me, nothing that any material worth could give me, but a peace that I knew that there's a God who unconditionally loves you, and who had put you on this earth for a purpose, and realizing that I have a purpose and that I'm loved unconditionally was mind-blowing, and was like, what a realization and what a gift that was. So yeah, like started then properly going to church and properly like making Christian friends, and putting my hope in Jesus, and what he's done for me, and knowing that I'm saved from him, and what he's done. And yeah, so going on from that, then did A levels, was going to church during A levels, and yeah, just trying to figure out more and more about God and Jesus, and what that means for me. And coming to university has been great, and I've really loved being involved with the Christian Union and getting involved in a church, and yeah, just my faith has, and being strengthened through that. But that's not to say that like my mental health has completely like been healed or like taken away, but ultimately I know throughout this that I have a hope that that I'm loved, and that I'm saved because of what Jesus has done for me, and that keeps me going. So yeah, that's my story, really.
Awesome, Rachel. So awesome. I think that's a really good takeaway point. That bit at the end there, I really love how you put that, of being honest and being like, as Christians, we don't claim that life's going to be good all the time. It's not going to feel great, but we have that hope in Jesus. I think that's so cool. Just one final question for you. This year, as we know, has been challenging for many of us. I know I've certainly found it challenging in places. How have you found this year, and how has your faith kind of impacted on the way that you've sort of approached coronavirus and lockdown and all the challenges that the start of this uni year has brought?
Yeah, so I think it definitely kind of like brought up a lot of questions about like eternal life, and kind of just thinking, whoa, like with the mortality, COVID, and kind of wanting to really look more into the resurrection. And so I've tried to look into that a bit more, and be more encouraged, like be more excited about trying to talk to people who don't know Jesus, and trying to share that gospel to them, because it's hard when you can't be with people like physically. You're restricted from that. So yeah, I think that's kind of it kind of hits home actually, that that death is a thing, and that we as Christians have a hope beyond death, and yeah, sharing that with, and sharing the good news of that with people who aren't Christians, and being excited for that. Yeah,
lovely. Thank you so much.
That's all right.
A very smooth tangent on from your last point there, actually. We are now going to be listening to Niv's talk. So if you haven't been with us for the rest of the week, Niv is our speaker for the week. And he is going to be sharing tonight on, is there any hope for suffering people, how to find hope in throughout suffering, which is very topical at the time. So yeah, we hope you all enjoyed the talk.
Good evening. Great to be with you again, thinking about hope this week, where it comes from, what it really is, and whether we can have it. And this evening, we're asking the question, is there any hope for suffering people? Suffering people that we're seeing so often in the news, seeing so often perhaps even in our lives. Our current life in lockdown sharpens the question, because we dread death rates going up, an overwhelmed NHS, lives and livelihoods lost in this crisis. At a personal level, we fear for those we love. Perhaps we mourn the loss of those we love. Perhaps we ourselves have or are experiencing coronavirus. Now, in other circumstances, this question of suffering can feel like a theoretical question to kick around, but now it feels closer than we'd ever like it to be. The suffering is real, and the questions are real. They demand an honest response, not simplistic platitudes. So thank you for listening in this evening. These aren't easy things to think about or easy things for me to talk about, but I am grateful to have this opportunity to share some of these thoughts with you, because what I found in Jesus has made a difference even in my pain. For me, I can't talk about any of this without thinking about my friend Rebecca. Here's a photo of us from approximately 10 years ago. And as you can see, I have not aged well. She and I were both English students at university, and she was one of my best friends. She was a brilliant rower, she had a lively mind, and she was pretty much loved by everyone. And when she died in a car crash during our 3rd year, I found out what suffering was really like. I was devastated, struggled to get out of bed in the morning, and I was left thinking about this question. Is there any hope for suffering people? Where is God in any of this pain? At the time, I was a Christian. And for some people, it is pretty clear. The fact of suffering shows that he isn't there at all. A couple of years ago, you might have seen it. Stephen Fry was on Irish TV, and he was asked what he would say to God if it turns out there was one. And he said, I'd say, bone cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is so much misery that is not our fault? The moment you banish him, that's God, life becomes simpler, cleaner, purer, more worth living, in my opinion. It's powerful stuff, and he really means those words. But what happens if we do banish God? Well, suffering does raise questions for the believer, but it also raises huge questions for those who take Stephen Fry's advice and dismiss God. When we take God out of the picture, where are we left? This moment from Professor Richard Dawkins is honest and succinct. It's a really well-known quote from his book, River Out of Eden. Let me read it to you. In a universe of electrons and selfish genes, blind physical forces and genetic replication, some people are going to get hurt, other people are going to get lucky, and you won't find any rhyme or reason in it, nor any justice. The universe that we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is, at bottom, no design, no purpose, no evil, no good, nothing but blind, pitiless indifference. Christians talk about the problem of suffering, the problem of evil, but at least we have a problem. Dismiss God, and as Professor Richard Dawkins says, you're left with no design, no purpose, no evil, no good. And in that meaningless universe, in what way is suffering really a problem? In what way can we call it wrong? When we encounter suffering, our instinct is to say, it shouldn't be this way, or that's wrong. But if we dismiss God, who's to say what should or shouldn't be the case? Who's to say what's right or wrong? These things are nothing more than my opinion. And any objection we may have to suffering is ultimately nothing more than preference, because it's meaningless. We've already said there is no meaning. That's something I had to wrestle with as I thought about Rebecca. I was full of questions and sorrow and anger in the wake of her death. But I also had to be honest. If we are nothing more than time plus matter plus chance, then nothing meaningful had happened. Rebecca was an accident, just like me, just like you. Some people get hurt, some people get lucky. But that conclusion made no sense of her. She didn't feel like an accident. She felt like a gift. Someone who came into our lives, made us smile, laugh, cry. Someone who was worth missing. Someone who was worth crying over. A gift. One who pointed to a giver. Taking God out of the picture, it looks like a simple, neat solution. But suffering is a reality that defies simplistic, easy answers. And taking God out of the picture turns out to be one of those. It renders our pain meaningless. And could you really live as if suffering meant nothing? As if it weren't wrong? At least suffering is a problem with God in the picture. And it's a problem to take seriously. Here's something I found really comforting when I've gone to the Bible. It doesn't go in for easy answers or simplistic solutions. It doesn't short circuit the hard questions. There's a whole book of the Bible, the book of Job, which does that. It says, don't try to give easy answers to suffering. There aren't any that a human being could give you. Don't say that all suffering is punishment. It isn't your place to say that, and it also isn't necessarily true. There is so much that isn't my place to say, so I won't even try to say those things this evening. But the Bible isn't silent. It isn't lacking in comfort or challenge. And while it doesn't give you exhaustive answers, answering everything you could ever ask about this question, it does give satisfying answers, and shockingly, shows that there is real hope for suffering people. So I want to share 4 of the key things Jesus speaks into our suffering. Here's the first one. Jesus says it wasn't made to be this way. Jesus looks at our suffering world and tells us things weren't made to be this way. There's a moment in Jesus' life when his close friend Lazarus is ill, and you can look it up in chapter 11 of John's Gospel. And then Lazarus dies. And when Jesus goes to his tomb, he's described as being deeply moved in spirit and troubled. In the Greek, those words don't just mean that Jesus was sorrowful, but deeply angry. Because suffering in our world is worth getting angry about. So while I think Stephen Fry's conclusions are way off base, his anger tells me he gets something very real about suffering. Our world wasn't meant to be this way, which is why we struggle with it. It's why the poet Dylan Thomas told his father not to go gentle into that good night, but to rage against the dying of the light. According to Jesus, sorrow and anger are right responses to the way things are right now, because they weren't made to be this way. According to the Bible, reality is out of joint. Something about our world is deeply broken. We were made for a relationship with God, and our turning away from God, our breaking of that relationship, has left our world broken as well. And we might wonder why God let that happen. Why let us turn away from him? But it comes down to what he made us for. He made us to be loved by him and to love him. And genuine love can't be programmed in. It has to be freely given, which means there had to be the possibility of rejection. And that's what happened, the Bible tells us, in the beginning, and continues to happen. Now, that's not to say that individual acts of sin bring on individual moments of suffering, but rather that suffering in our world is a clear sign to us that things aren't right. Here's C.S. Lewis, the writer of the Narnia books. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks to us in our conscience, but shouts to us in our pain. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Suffering alerts us to the fact that something is deeply wrong. It's a symptom of a broken world, and the underlying cause is our attitude towards God that rejects him. What the Bible calls sin. And at this point, I want us to ask an awkward, uncomfortable question. Are we prepared to acknowledge how much suffering is human in origin? Even many of the natural disasters we see actually have human exploitation, wastefulness, and greed lurking at the bottom of them. It's no question in our current pandemic that the people who suffered the most have not just suffered because of the virus, but also because of systems and structures which exclude them from the care they need. That's the story worldwide. Are we prepared to acknowledge that we have had a hand in the suffering of others? That we have played our part in hurting them? We often look at the suffering in our world and ask, how could God allow that to exist? But so often, I am complicit in it. So the real question is, how can God allow me to exist? It wasn't made to be this way. Suffering shows that something has gone very wrong. It's worth getting angry about, like Jesus does. But with Jesus, there's more than anger. Here's the second thing Jesus says to our suffering. He says, it won't always be this way. It won't always be this way. This episode with Lazarus is remarkable because of what Jesus comes there to do. He doesn't go as another mourner to join the crowd. He went there to end the mourning by raising Lazarus from the dead. And that's what you can read him doing in John chapter 11. And all through Jesus' life, you find accounts of him bringing healing to the sick, sight to the blind, hope to the cynical, and yes, even life to the dead. Jesus was waging war on suffering, and everywhere he went, he was winning. Now, we might have questions about the miraculous things Jesus is recorded as doing. It's worth repeating just for now that these are eyewitness documents from the first century. In fact, that none of Jesus' opponents, of which there were many in the first few centuries, ever denied his supernatural abilities. But more than that, the miracles Jesus does are never party tricks, raw displays of divine power. They're a pointer to what God ultimately plans for our world. The Bible ends with a picture of a changed world, a world made new, a world without the suffering in it, a world without pain. God comes out with this amazing promise that there'll be no more death, no more mourning, no more pain, and that God himself will wipe away every tear from his people's eyes. Maybe you know Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and a moment in which Sam Gamgee sees Gandalf, having thought him dead. And he says, Gandalf, I thought you were dead. But then I thought I was dead. Does this mean that everything sad is going to come untrue? Tolkien could write that because he was a Christian, and he knew these promises of a world made new, where everything sad is going to come untrue. God doesn't intend for his world to languish in suffering, but to wipe every tear away, to bring indescribable comfort to the brokenhearted. And for those who know the pain of suffering, that promise is worth digging into, because this is what we long for. A world without the stuff of suffering in it. No tears, no mourning, no death, no COVID. We're right to long for that world, because that world will one day be a reality. But however beautiful that promise may be, it is pointing to a future we don't yet see. So what about the world we do see? What does God offer hurting people today? Here's the third thing Jesus says to our suffering. Jesus looks at our suffering world and says, I choose to suffer with you. I choose to suffer with you. That's God's response to our world of pain. He doesn't stay on a distant celestial throne. The claim of the Christian faith is that he came down here and became one of us and made this world of pain and struggle and suffering his home. Not indifferent, but involved. When we see suffering in our world, we're inclined to rage at God. Even in the Bible, you find believers coming very close to doing that. We rage at God and we say, okay, your move. This is a world of brokenness and pain. And as far as I can see, you're cruel or incapable. What's your move, God? And this is his move. Not to give us an explanation or a telling off, but to give us a person. God offers himself in Jesus. And in knowing him, it's not that our questions go away all at once. Rather, being in a relationship with him changes things. I don't know everything, but I find I know enough. Here's why. Jesus looks at our pain and says, I choose to suffer with you. God knows what it's like to suffer in Jesus. At the tomb of Lazarus, before he raises his friend from the dead, Jesus weeps. Why does he do that? Because he cares. I think the worst Christmas carol of all time is Away in a Manger. I hate it. And I especially hate the line, the little Lord Jesus, no crying he makes. Because it's a lie. The carol makes Jesus sound immune to pain, but the evidence shows us that Jesus felt the pain. We're not alone in our suffering, because in Jesus, God himself has suffered. And he knows what it is to cry. I read this passage out at my friend Rebecca's funeral. And the stunning claim of Jesus is that God had been exactly where I was, weeping at a friend's tomb. He gets it. Amazingly, Jesus is a fellow sufferer. But he's even more than that. Here's the fourth thing Jesus says to our suffering world. I choose to suffer for you. I choose to suffer for you. Jesus ended his life on a cruel Roman cross, facing all the ugliness of human nature, betrayed, tortured, murdered in a painful, shameful death. But mysteriously, Jesus had said that this was the plan all along. By dying like this, in the place where only the worst deserve to die, Jesus would deal with the root problem of all suffering. Not a cosmetic, superficial solution, but an act of cosmic restoration, dealing with the brokenness of our world by bringing us back to God and paying the price in person for our rejection of him. Jesus came to suffer so that he could end suffering. That's why 3 days after his death, despairing and desolate, Jesus' hopeless friends went to his tomb and found it empty. And although they could barely believe it, they encountered him alive again, saw him, spoke to him, touched him, just as he told them they would. And spurred on by what they'd seen, they went on to turn the world upside down. Where is God in our pain? Is he absent? No. He steps into life in our world and steps down to suffer indescribable agony and steps up to our questions and seeking. Is he evil? No. I see Jesus dying on a cross for me. I don't understand everything about what he allows to happen to me, maybe not even anything about it. But when I look at where Jesus went for me, I can know there's no cruelty in him. Is he unable? No. Jesus rose again. He destroyed death, our most feared enemy. He left an indelible mark on history and kick-started a Christian community growing to this day, a place where hope and comfort are lived realities, and you are welcome to investigate one of these churches in Bath to see that for yourself. Christians don't have all the answers, but in Jesus, we do have all we need. And if I know this God who takes the evil and sorrow and suffering of Jesus' execution and uses it to bring about good, then I can trust him. Then genuine hope is an option for suffering people. And even in the midst of our pain, Jesus says that he chooses to suffer with us. He chooses to suffer for us. I know that for many of us, this question of suffering comes from the dark places where we've been. Maybe as you're watching this, even the dark places we feel like we're in. And Jesus' claim is that he knows those dark places intimately. He can make comfort and hope a reality even there. And I don't want any of us to miss out on that. What will you do with this hope that's on offer? Whatever you do, please don't do nothing. Now, given what Jesus offers and the difference he makes, I would be cheating you if I didn't give you an opportunity to reach out to Jesus now and have that hope. So I'm going to pray a prayer which gives us a chance to do that. And if you're not ready for that, just listen in. But if you are, please pray along with me. Lord Jesus, you bring comfort to those who are hurting. You came to suffer and die to deal with the root cause of all suffering. You rose again, guaranteeing us life in a world made new. So I turn away from life with me at the center, because I can't fix what's broken, and I've even been part of the problem. I'm sorry, Lord. I turn to you. I trust in you, that you died for me and rose again, that you make me a son or daughter in God's family. Help me to live with you at the center of my life. Amen. And if you join me in praying that prayer, do reach out to someone on the Christian Union, or perhaps where this has been streamed, and find out more. Thank you so much for listening.
Wow. Pretty powerful stuff, right? That's really hit home with me this evening.
Me too. What have we got coming up tomorrow for the big finale, Josh?
Well, tomorrow is our big CU quiz, our big fat CU quiz. Each pizza prize that we've been talking about all week, £100 of Domino's vouchers, I've heard, maybe. I'm not sure if that's true or whether it's rumours, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I was meant to say that or not, but the big pizza prize.
Massive exclusives on this show. And I've heard it's been followed by a talk.
Yes, there is a talk afterwards. And it's on the topic of hope again, being, is there a hope in a real, which should be another amazing topic. So
definitely. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it should be really awesome. We'll be back here at 7:30. Great set of hosts, not us tomorrow sadly, but great set of hosts, and it should be a really fun evening. You do need to sign up for that quiz.
Yeah.
So the sign up link is in the description on the Facebook page, I believe. So below the stream there will be a link, the sign ups, and I'd assume the description video. there will be a link to sign up.
Yeah, get a team together and sign up and come and join us for some fun. Should be great. If you were as affected by Niv's talk as we were and it really spoke to you, then there will be some slides rolling at the end showing some info on how you can reach out to us, get involved, and we can give you some more info. Particularly, we have an alpha course where they're in a smaller group of about 8. You'll be able to discuss these big questions on hope and suffering, who Jesus is, etc. So there is a sign up link to that on the Bath Uni Christian Union Facebook page. But
Yes.
otherwise, I think that's about it from us, isn't it, Josh?
I think it is. It's been so awesome to join you again, guys. It's been so great to be with you all this week to tackle this topic. If you have any questions, if you're curious, please do follow up those links that will come up on the slides afterwards, because it's such a joy to see people exploring who Jesus is, because we truly believe that it's the biggest hope as a CU. We truly believe that there's no greater hope than what you can find in Jesus. So please do follow that up and keep exploring and keep questioning it for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And if all else fails, I'm sure you can just message any of our social medias and someone will send you all the relevant info. But yeah, we couldn't recommend it anymore.
Any excuse to try and plug the Instagram, Esther?
I'm not
Any excuse to
publicity,
plug the
Josh. I don't know what you're on about. I am not publicity. I don't know who started that rumor. But that is all from us. Thank you so much for joining, and we hope to see you tomorrow at the quiz.
Yeah, love to see you guys. Have a great evening.